Yeah, so there I was last night. I was just like, hey, here I am. How you doing, guys? Happy Monday. I was last night. That's what I was doing. I was last nighting. Some of you, last nighted too. I see you. I see you there. And I'm not muted. And last night I was like, you know, Apsu is this, uh, ancient god of fresh water, considered male. And Tiamat is the ancient goddess, you should say, probably, of saltwater. And before Gilgamesh, you have the exact same story of Genesis. Genesis was taken from these same fables. The same way. Thank you, Stretch. The same way DWM Siri. That's weird, man. But everyone, I'm going with Stretch on this one. Audio good. She did it twice. Stretch is like, you know what? I'm going to tell him again. Here it is again. The Gilgamesh story is taken the same way that I showed you, especially if you bought my book Ark of Baphomet, which you can buy right now. Some of you are like, I don't want to have it on my shelf. My Christian friends are going to come over and think I'm some sicko satanic freak. And some of you guys are like, I want to have that on my shelf so my Christian friends can come over and think I'm some kind of satanic freak. And this is the power of biolumination, my friends. And Apsu, the god of fresh water, and Tiamat, the god of salt water. I was laying in bed and I was just like, wait a minute. That's a battery. And I was like, oh, great. Lithium algorithm that's enslaved by a corporation inside of a data farm. Lend me your ears. What kind of battery is it where you have a saltwater anode and a freshwater cathode? Want to use typing. Oh, James, just so stupid. The anode is the fresh water. The salt water is the cathode, you dumbass. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Whichever one it is. I think of it. The cathode is probably the Audi of the belly button world. And the anode is the innie. Do I have this right? I don't want to waste time looking it up. I really wish one of you would look it up and tell me which one is cathode the innie or is cathode the outie. Look for the word positive and you'll find it because I can remember. I'm pretty sure that cath is positive. I think it's cath is positive because I remember things mathematically, but sometimes I forget which mathematics I have to access a memory. And when I have the memory, everything's clear because it's a limbic brain. Motherfuckers, it's a limbic brain. We're gonna have to talk about this guy. Rome was built on the sacrifice of blood. We're gonna be talking about this. I swear we are. And this guy's been around since Halloween. He's so cute. He's actually slept in my bed a few times. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be like, I'm not saying I cuddled with him. I'm not saying I didn't, but I'm just saying that it was funny. He actually was on my bed. And then I got a teddy bear. Fuck you. I got a teddy bear. Yeah, I fucking got one. His name's Barry Manilow. He's freaking awesome. He's really cute. I went out of town. I almost brought him with him, but I was like, your dad's probably going to be wondering if you have mental issues. And then I stopped myself. No, James, you mean your dad will be wondering if you have more mental issues. I'm like, yeah, but see, I think that carrying a teddy bear around is important as wearing a tail in public. If you wear a fuzzy tail in public as an adult, if you're a girl, I'm sorry, but you can wear whatever the fuck you want. I mean, it's just true. But yeah, these are things. We're getting to Rome and we're getting the pumpkin. I just don't want to forget. Guys, Rome was built on the blood slaughter, sacrifice of things. I would not have been able to start Rome because I know that I need to cut off the head of this cute little guy and feed him to the birds. I need to allow his brains to be scattered among the deer. And the deer will eat the pumpkin seeds. They will. And they will have a good time. The raccoon would love this, would love to cannibalize this little guy. And that's how Rome starts. So I put it to you. If anyone joins Patreon today, if I can get any of you to join Patreon or to up your patronage, maybe, I want you to tell me the fate of this guy. I'm not sure if I should tell you his name because I think it would make it harder. And I don't know if we need to make it harder because there's already enough. But I do hope you see the lesson in this, that just by drawing a face on this thing, I wanted to cut its head off. It sounds sick. I wanted to cut its head off last week before I left town. I was just like, I need to go out of town. I'm going to cut that thing open. And I looked at it and I was like, God, it's so cute. I don't want to leave on a journey where I've just cut the head off of a pumpkin. Even if it's for like a good reason. It's tricky, guys. And this is fascism. The world is controlling me. It's mind controlling me. It's made me too soft, some of you will say. Some of you are probably like, it's made you too hard. Why are you fucking going to kill that pumpkin? I'm going to join a patient right now to save that pumpkin's life. He's like, you got to save me. Guys, you got to save me. I'm serious. Fucking save me. This guy's nuts. All he talks about is Roman shit. And he just sits there and he's just like, there is a reason for all things that are gonna happen to you. And he's like gonna put me in a pit and talk about like lotion on my skin. And I don't want to die. Don't make me die. You gotta join Fanchard. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Anode is positive. Thank you to Stirring Light. I think that means I had it right. I had it wrong. Thank you. The Stirring Light's telling me that the anode is positive. I think you're probably right on that. I do think you're right on that. So Weebles. This episode is brought to you by Weebles. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Because gravity is love. And if the earth wasn't spinning, love would crush you. You'd be crushed by earth. Spinning is allowing you to have enough velocity to not be crushed by earth. That allows your lungs to breathe. The velocity, this inertial centrifugal force? No, it's inertial angular momentum. Angular momentum. I think that's what it's called. Some of you like to call it the rotational axial force, but fuck you guys. You guys can kiss my ass. We should probably get on with the show, James. This is the show, guys. I can't lie to you. This is just all part of it. I want to talk about the subject of the show. I actually can't remember what I titled the show, but I do have a couple slides to show you. And for some reason, Google Chrome has decided that you can now split screens in two. And I got to tell you, I'm about to freak out. That is really bothering me. Close this view. I do not want those tricks. You motherfucker. You already give me way too many taps. I do want to talk about the subject today. What did I call the episode? Because the slides are all over the place. This episode's called... Dude, I cannot even find that. It's because it's not named there. Whatever this episode's called, I have no idea. But let's just get started. I'm going to talk about the A2 Brute. Did you know that there's like an A1 and an A2 Brute? Make sure. Yeah. Good. Many of you probably know this. Did you know Did you know there were two Brutuses? Did you know that? This could be a Mandela effect. Steve, let me know. But it could be a Mandela effect. But there are two Brutuses. A2 Brute, right? And you, Brutus, is check this out. It's a double entendre about two. Now, the fact it's a double entendre about two probably makes it a cubic entendre. I'm just saying you're cubically entendring things, and the only writer I know in the world who could cubically entendre things is William Shakespeare, and the fucker did it. Because there are two Brutuses. And in order to find this, I want to tell you the story of Romulus, the first pimp of Rome, because his story is the story of Gilgamesh. That's one of the spoilers. There are many spoilers here. That's one of them. And in order to get there, I found myself going, I need to really understand what was on this hill before the Palatine hill before it was Rome, right? Palatine hill before it's Rome. What was there? What was this like? And you start to look at the kings of Rome. There's these kings of Rome, right, that occurred before like royal Rome. We've talked a little bit about this. In fact, we told you the story of the Sibyl, the skin turner. Sibyl comes to one of these kings. This is actually the last king. And I want you to look at how symbolic this is, because the Sibyl kills the kings. The Sibyl ends the kingship of Rome. And in her death, her power goes too. Her power is destroyed, and it is covered in the mud, the sacred clay, and the virginity of abstention, of shut your mouth, shut your whore mouth Babylon, is this first call of, we're going to take the wild woman that tells us our future, and we're going to call her a virgin and tell her she needs to shut the fuck up and she needs to tend the fire. We're going to put her in the kitchen making sandwiches. Although I don't know if you could get a Vestal sandwich back then. I think you could, but it's like this Roman poetry thing. It's sort of like a Kundalini move. It's very complicated. But the Vestal itself is not the same free radical spirit. The werewolfian nature of the Sibyl is completely muted in the Vestal. And in exchange for that, she also muted the king. King Superbus, the king that bought the Sibyl books. If you remember, the Sibyl came, the oldest crone to crone came. I read you this story last time, and she offered him 10 books, the full prophecy, the future of Rome. He asked her the price. It's too much. She gives him a price. He says it's too much and laughs. She throws 3 books on the fire, and she goes, do you want them now? And he's like, well, of course not. Now you're mad. So she throws 3 more books on the fire, and before she can burn the rest of the books, his augurs tell him, dude, you better buy those fucking books. You fucking nuts. And you're looking at a compromise of thirds. And this compromise is the oracle of mythology. Ding, a little word we like to discuss around here. The oracle of mythology expressing itself through the cipher of mythology, a way of seeing things that are what happening. And in this case, you're looking at the bicameral mind, the 2 lobes of the brain that are hallucinating each other. Auditory hallucinations from one lobe to the other, from one brother to the other, and one brother is stronger and one brother is weaker. And the union of these things happen in the destruction of a king, because the self found itself. Ooh. And God disappeared. The first God is always land. I see this over and over again. The first God is always land. What I mean is, in every single creation story, some hero, some Marduk comes and destroys the land as some sort of beast. And when you understand the psyche of what's going on, the consciousness, how the brain is developing, I want you to imagine that the first time the conscious mind is able to separate itself from its environment is one giant pillar, but another giant pillar after that, after the animism is able to somehow decide, I am me, and then there is this other thing, that other thing is actually still alive. It's the second pillar where you kill it. Matter itself, soil, dirt, rocks, right? Matter itself dies when we stop imagining it as real. When we see the river of Nile, the black, as we would call it, the Kemet, or probably much more guttural, Kemet. The Kemet that we see is a moving snake through a living creature. The west side of the Nile is the left lobe. The right side of the Nile is the right. These 2 brains are separated by a flowing black goo. Then we call it black because our eyes lack the ability, the complexity to see color back then. This is why blue does not appear in this ancient literature. This is why you turn into a beast, a werewolf, a pan, a giant, a cannibal, a child-eating cannibal who loves acorns for some reason, is because your conscious mind slips into this beast mode, and you find the only thing that can bring you back is the kill, the sacrifice. And so we have these stories that start to develop. And Brutus is one of these stories. And it starts like this. Lucretia, most virtuous among the matrons of Rome, sat late into the night at her loom, while the other noblewomen feasted, and her diligence became her praise and her undoing. For Sextus, son of King Superbus, having once admired her honor, returned in darkness to her house, and armed not with love, but with tyranny, broke faith with hospitality, and forced his will upon her. At dawn he departed in silence, leaving behind not only a wound upon her body, but a stain upon the honor of the kingdom itself. Lucretia, refusing to let guilt cling where only injustice had been done, summoned her husband, her father, and Brutus, a man then thought dull, but whose spirit was only concealed. Before them she spoke with calm clarity, naming the crime and its author, and demanding not comfort, but justice. Then, having entrusted her cause to the living, she drew a blade and struck her own heart. Her blood, shed upon the floor of her father's house, became the seed of Rome's awakening. Brutus, lifting the bloody dagger, swore before the gathered men that no king would ever again rule Rome. He carried Lucretia's body into the public square, and her silent form spoke more fiercely than any living tongue. The people, stirred by grief and fury alike, rose as one. King Superbus was cast out, his line cursed, and the gates of the city closed against tyranny forever. Thus from the death of one woman was born the liberty of a people. This is the first Brutus. The first Brutus defeated the tyranny of Rome. The second Brutus defeated the tyranny of Rome. It is said that Caesar had 56, I believe, conspirators who conspired to stab him. On the day of the event, I believe somewhere close to 19, maybe. Maybe it's a little bit more than 19, but a lot less actually did the act. And I think only the listeners of James True Live, honestly, would then also do the math, understanding that, well, some of those fuckers stabbed Caesar after he was dead. Am I right, people? Let's hit thumbs up if you know what I mean. That you understand culture even that well, and that you realize that when you remove the math of those who were feigning to stab him after he was dead or after it was easy, it really only took one. And everything that happens in Rome requires the shedding of blood. And that shedding of blood is either easy or it's hard. And truly, it would be the only litmus test you would have to know which one of us has the propensity to shed blood for Rome. There is this word, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's quinteles, I believe. This is a new word to me. I've been learning it too in my travels, so I don't mean to present it as something I know. Quintilis, I think it's it. Roman body state. This is when you were born, when you are when you are living in Rome. Remember how the land dies when you consciously start to look at it as a non-animate thing? And your cosmology kills that land monster. And as soon as you kill the land, what happens? All the lesser gods, all the creatures come out of its dying carcass. So you no longer animize the land as a living creature. Now you have enough discernment where you can specify species. You can specificate the species. And when you specificate, when you spectate them, you give them life. You create the gods of the vertebrates. The vertebratians. The vertebratians. You see them for the first time because they become separate from the land, because you killed Tiamat. Enlil killed Tiamat. The Aztec people, the sacred twins, I believe it's the sacred twins, the Popol Vuh of the Mayan twos, another set of sacred twins, Romulus and Remus, the sacred twins of Rome, Gilgamesh and Enkidu, the sacred twins, Cain and Abel, Genesis stolen from these earlier episodes, all coming down to this idea of twins. And now we look at our two-party system, and you, without history, without James True Live even, possibly you may think that the political system is a byproduct of something that has occurred through recent corporatocracy, recent technocracy. But in just 3 decades ago, we're digging around the freeways in Mexico City. This has just happened in your lifetime. You're digging around the streets of Mexico City, trying to repair the interstate, and you come across an ancient wall. And you're looking around, and you find this ancient bells on cheeks. You find this ancient statue of this sacred lady that kind of looks like a Liberty Bell. And she's got Liberty Bells on her cheeks, and the Liberty Bells are bleeding, and it makes her cheeks red. And she's thrown on this other rock that is this creature. Her body is separated into all its parts. She's drawn and quartered and pulled apart, and out of the things of these other creatures emerge. These reptiles of the land are screaming from inside of her skin. And you see the exact same psychological emergence there. But then you notice the whole thing's built on two parties, and you're like, what? And you look at Templo Mayor, you look at that entire structure, and you read every academic, and you take their words seriously. You don't add any bullshit. You don't sprinkle archaic bullshit from Sitchin. You don't tell people about the latest fad in whatever bullshit we want to talk about. You look at the oldest records, you take what the world is actually saying about a certain mythos, about a certain specific thing that happened in the past, and you just do the math. And they tell you there's Thalok, the god of global warming, the god of we are afraid that the weather will punish us. And then you have this is the blue god, literally the temple of the blue. And you have the temple of the red, the god of the hummingbird, the god of war, the god that feels terrorism is going to kill us if we do not kill someone first. And both sides are insisting that blood must be shed. And both sides are insisting it's not that we shed or do not shed blood. It's that the blood that is shed is dedicated to the right lobe. Guys, you're looking at two lobes of the brain, the left brain and the right brain, competing over the flow of blood from your heart. In every one of these myths, one brother is dominant. Romulus is building a wall long after Lucretia is raped, long after Brutus avenges her. Romulus is building a wall. Remus jumps over the wall to make fun of his brother's creation. Romulus, seeing what's happened, is taking his wall very seriously. This is the first time someone's crossed his wall. He sees an opportunity to consecrate his wall, so he sacrifices Remus, slaughters his own brother, and declares his blood as proof of how mighty the wall must be. That this wall's going to be fucking great because it stopped my own fucking brother. That had it not been for my brother trying to climb in, I would not have been able to make this wall as strongly as I did. And you're looking at a bunch of people that are having auditory hallucinations from the other side of their brain, and they don't know it's them. And you have these stories of werewolves like I've told you, of the Sibyl like I've told you, and the stories of the Fasma. Phasmagorica. That's right, the Fasma. The seeing. Something, the appearance of things. This came from the same era as the wolf, the same era as the Sibyl, this tendency of dead things to walk around and interact in the world. One of the famous stories takes place in a young girl's home. This young girl is betrothed to another man and befalls a horrible death that's not explained. And many years after this death, a visitor from a foreign land is inside her father's home where she grew and died, and is paid a visit by his dead daughter at night. Over and over they visit, and finally one of the house slaves sees the Fasma of this family member, recognizes her fully, rushes in to wake the parents. The parents come in and they see their daughter too. And the moment that they see her animated. They are asking her what's happening. The man who saw her sees her too. And it takes them rushing to the tomb and opening the tomb of their daughter to go inside. And at the moment that they see that she is dead, the specter dies too. The dead body falls to the bed and remains lifeless. You could call this a ghost story like we do now. You could say, well, it's a ghost story. It's a ghost story. And you could be done. You could also look at this in this same animized state where even the concept of mortality requires a lot of calories to understand. That just as we kill by deanimizing the land to make all the vertebrates come out, so too do we end up killing the animization that we have about our own mortality, about our own life, etc. And we start to see a historical map, a kind of fingerprint that explains how we purviewed things like death back then, how we saw these things, right? Because historically, one of the oldest rituals is the ritual of Hercules. This took place on Palatine Hill, long before it was a hill, long before it was Rome, long before the kings that we've already spoke about came. Long before all of them, there were two families. This was the, this is a hard one to pronounce, the Potiti and the Panari. Panari, hey, who wants a Panari? You guys, come to my wedding. You got to check one. You want Potiti or you want Panari? And these are the ancient families of Rome. And they had a really brilliant manipulation, okay? So no one in Rome called this a manipulation. Livy certainly did not. But when I read this story, I can't help but think of it as a manipulation. See, the locals, they want free labor. And they wait for the first guy that shows up that's kind of strong, that's kind of looking to prove himself. And they tell him, guys, this is like the birth of all commerce, because the first currency is you're a hero. Because they said, well, we had a prophecy that a man who looks just like you was going to come and build us a barn over there according to these health code inspection specs. And that this is a story of Potiti and Panari, really clever fellows, because they said that we have a prophecy that one of you guys is going to kill that giant over there, that giant that keeps eating our kids, that dude. He's a bad guy. We want you to eat him, is what we'd say. And we've been told that you would come, Hercules. We've been told that you would come. And if you would come and defeat this monster, then a great temple would be built in your honor. And so, young warrior heroes, like, man, that sounds like me. I would fall, guys. I would totally fall for this. I would have been like, you guys want to go with like green tiles, or you want to go with like ochre tiles? I think ochre is going to look better against the landscape. And these guys build an altar, and they sacrifice. They kill the monster. He kills the monster. Hercules kills the monster, and he builds the altar for them, a temple for himself, honored after himself, commissioned by him, because these guys are clever. And the sacred bull is chopped open. The sacred bull's chopped open. The entrails are pulled out and read. And then, more importantly, these two families participate in a secret ritual. A sacred, secret ritual. And this sacred, secret ritual that involves the slaughtering of the bull is truly what you would call kind of the birth of Rome. And when you think back to why would you need sacrifice, I want you to think about what it does to the psyche. There's a kind of cleansing. There's a kind of all of the issues that you have with food, clothing, shelter could be satisfied in a single act of animal sacrifice. There's nothing that's more limbically proving to the cortex, to the inner psyche, the animized psyche, I'm trying not to say the pre-egoic you, would probably be the acquisition of food, clothing, shelter. And that acquisition, I think, would give you enough comfort to where you would enter into a parasympathetic state and become conscious. You would turn out of the wolf and become the king. And the king is, the early kings, if you remember, are always clothed in charisma. They're always draped or wearing some sort of cloak of malamu or charisma or intimidation. And that this is probably the horns, the psychic feeling it felt to be around a being that was vibrating higher than you. And if you live in an open state, then I know that you've been around people that are vibrating higher than you before, and you know how good it feels when you're not in a state of jealousy or angst or manipulation. When you are vibrating high enough too, the king ceases to intimidate you, and you start to worship him. You start to see him as a symbol, as a hero. And so Hercules himself would be the turning of the werewolf into something directed. The first arrow, in a way. The first vectorized conscious will. The Hercules is the being able to maintain a will through the werewolf state of violence and just getting shit done. Just like we're going to cut off some heads. This is a very complex state because for the first time, maybe not the first time, but in order for our discussion, the first time you're having to hold on to a psyche self, but also turn into a hunting predator at the same time. And the idea of sacrificing an animal that is actually sacred to you, that trusts you, would actually be the one time when you're killing a beast that could kill you, a 600-pound animal, for example, where you're killing that beast with no fear. And if you had no fear, you would be more parasympathetic, right? The nerves in your face are your parasympathetic antler system. You're logging into the society, which would require you to have this conscious idea of you being an asynchronous separate connection from other people, and you're entering into a symbiotic relationship with them. And oh my God, we've got so much work to do on the word symbiotic. You cannot even use that word right now because people tend to think that symbiosis means appeasement. And that's not what the word means at all. The people that are suffering see that as appeasement, the same way you would see a king as a tyrant instead of a hero. Symbiosis actually is one of the most profound weapons that you have. It is one of the most protective things that gives you a gradients of peace with the rest of the world because you have the power of mutual annihilation. Part of the thing that makes this so hard, you've been trained in a way just as me, where I do not want to annihilate my little friend. Don't take me, don't annihilate me, no one needs Rome. Rome sucks. We can dig holes in the woods and poop together and live happy lives as sovereign individuals and order everything off online and pretend that we're not connected to society when we actually are. That's an option. And if you can afford it, go for it. But ultimately, you're looking at a rising of a psyche, and that the predator isn't rising with you. Your ability to see predator is growing, and so you just see him more clearly, that's all. You're noticing more how much power you give the machine. And the symbiosis gets hard because you start to see how much power everyone else does too. It's tricky. It's tricky. I'm struggling because I'm watching my friends try and say things like just the denial of habeas corpus, to take someone without their will, give them zero trial, give them zero ability to contact a lawyer, to even shoot a mother in the head, all because someone committed basically a misdemeanor of paperwork. And that these two things, the denial of your right of habeas corpus and the fact that we can now shoot people in the face for not having paperwork, I don't think those would fit under the category of immigration. I think immigration is a little cute little state that deals with what we think a border is, but I think what happens domestically on the inside doesn't have anything to do with immigration. It's more domestic policy. And symbiosis, I think, is what's necessary to actually get us to the next step. But how can you alchemize the giant into the hero? The dude that rapes children and eats acorns is about the only guy you're going to be able to convince who'd be dumb enough to sacrifice a bull for you. And you're going to have to name that temple after him, and you're going to have to call him king. And you're going to sit underneath his tutelage, and you're going to think that he's different from the other Cyclopses. He's better. He's our Cyclops, and that makes him better. And just because he eats kids, well, he's not eating our kids. He's just eating the dark meat, and we are fine. And this is something that you would do to survive until you gain enough calories, and then you could afford to see more. And some people see more. Now, do we penalize those who see more? Of course we do. Of course we do. Shamans fuck off. That's really America's basic underlying tenet. What it means to be white literally means shamans fuck off. It means we're not indigenous. We don't live in this soil. We live in the whiteness of this identity that's really secretly in this other place. It's kind of an anti-Zion if you think about it. It's a place that's not here, but it is somewhere, and it was greater than all the rest. And even though it was greater than all the rest, somehow it didn't survive, which is not an oxymoron, because I only have so much oxygen going to my brain. See, I am white. Do not have color. Blood does not flow from me to stay alive. Those are indigenous rituals. This sounds like a vampire farm to me. White culture sounds like a vampire farm to me. And that there's, dudes, these guys are running out of blood. I know these white guys suck. That's funny, Tom. You said that last time. But yeah, I know. And the blood bank, it's all here, guys. It's all here. And forgive me for getting upset with some of you for not seeing it. I got to admit, sometimes I struggle. I think my issue here with Pumpkin Man is a perfect example of that strife right there. I do not have the right answer for you. I am simply surviving as best I can. Probably the way you are too, right? Am I right? I don't have to be right. It's really not that necessary. If you start to look at the civilization itself requires blood, then you can kind of understand why government always involves war. It wouldn't be real if we didn't have it. And I think you're looking domestically at a clinging of people to the quintelis, the Roman body as an animized state. The dying bones of Omateotl, or the dying bones of Tiamat before it's ripped apart and all the other living things come from it. That we don't see the vertebrae inside the city, we see the nation instead. That the nation is the creature that we acknowledge. And when you stab that creature in the eye, you get a river, the Euphrates, the Tigris. This is how people saw the Suez Canal, that Saudi Arabian peninsula. Looks like a snake's head. And it's got two eyes that are bleeding, but they were only bleeding because your consciousness grew enough to kill that snake. So you're de-animizing something when you grow consciousness. And I don't think consciousness is necessarily the leading force in your life. I think it's more of a justification. Consciousness is going to have to be at least 500 milliseconds behind you. Sapolsky will tell you that there's really no such thing as destiny. Not really. I mean, that everything is destiny. There really is no such thing as free will. And this is probably one of the greatest exit ramps, I think, that's necessary for you to even understand what symbiosis really means. Symbiosis is not I will pull over now and accept the cruise control. Symbiosis means I am a weapon of mass destruction. My participation is my only vote. And I have the ability to kill this system the same way quantum mechanics can refuse any slit from convincing a wave to become a particle. This witness world we have, it's going to require you to love and embrace the paradox of the quantum, because you're living inside of a state that's not real. You're watching two lobes compete. In the past, the two lobes were more equal. Your Enkidu thought it was mortal, thought it was immortal. Your Gemini twins, both of them thought they were mortal. Gilgamesh, only one who made it. Romulus, only one who made it. These figures are your lobe surviving what you may think is the destruction of the other lobe, but really it's the complete submission and the falling away into silence. Your intuition has gotten quieter because this process has happened over and over and over again. And the competition for blood behind every city, behind organisms, is the specter of the competition of blood between your two lobes, arguing that it deserves more, that it has a better perspective on things. You are crucified between two thieves, right? And the Trismegistus is the union of Dismas and Gismus. Literally, the names of the two thieves themselves are Hermes Trismegistus. The difference between these two things. You were crucified. You were the Christ crucified between the shoulder blades, right? That cross of your two lobes. And your two lobes are connected to the limbic inputs into this video game that quite frankly, is no different than you attaching 3 trillion cattle prods into your genitals. And that's the human body. This is all the human body does. And no matter how you move your body, no matter where you put it, these cattle prods are going to go off. And you've been hearing this pain since the moment you logged in. And the amnesia has really, really made this a full immersive experience that you have. It's so immersive that you're seeking privacy from yourself, that you're seeking privacy from the game itself, because you can't fucking tell where the game starts and where you begin. And I'm going to tell you something. That's probably the biggest illusion that's stopping you. And you'll have a bad taste about symbiosis, and you'll say, well, I don't know, James, and Substack, when I tell you that this truly is the thing that's causing the most vitriol in the world, is your inability to accept the symbiotic power that you have through your witness, through your rebuke, through your pollination of the environment itself. There is a philosophy of apathy here at work. And that apathy, I see it as inflammation. I think it's the same thing. And I want you to know that there are people in their 20s right now that are watching older generations practice apathy, and they're going to die before they even make it onto the field. They see you and me practicing apathy, and they're just like, fuck this place. Who the hell wants to develop that kind of skill? They don't even know if it's a skill. They don't even see it that way. They do not have the calories to even function on that level. So even though apathy might be protecting you, I don't know if it's actually protecting you in the long run. I think you're looking at something different. It's a first world problem to insist that everyone helps your apathy feel good, I think. It's a first world problem. It's a luxury you have. And when we see what's actually happening in the world, when we see things that are around us, it's an assault. It's a kind of rape on our apathy, our ability to focus on ourselves. I want you to focus on yourself. I want to focus on myself too. And I think it requires a daily pollination of the world to maintain that kind of structure, the same way your transcription requires that you repeat your DNA strand. All those codons, you got to say it again. Say your name, every fucking cell. It's like it doesn't know who it is, demands that you say your name all over again through transcription. So you just run it through that zipper, right? And just tell yourself, I am. And you got to say it frontwards and backwards, just like a DUI test. Because someone wants to know, have you legally earned the right to be yourself on this network? This is the symbiotic curse, you could call it that. But it really is, I think, the ultimate form of medicine. You know, I know you guys probably already know that medicine and music have the same glyph in certain languages. And you probably know if you've been watching James True Live, which would be great if you want to join Patreon, hit subscribe, join, hit like. Would love to know your thoughts in the comments about today's show. But that also, you've probably learned on this show that medicine is the ability to measure something. And when you start to look at quantum as an argument over what counts as a measurement, then you start to understand that music, medicine, and quantum itself are all properties of measurement, that the only thing that makes the wave collapse into a particle is that something measured it, that medicine was applied to the slit. The medicine is fucking you. It is your experience of that world. And quantum physicists are still arguing over what actually counts as a measurement because we don't even know yet. Because, as I've said before, I think the perfect way to understand the quantum is a pixel of sentences, that every single thing in this world is basically composed of sentences. And a sentence is going to have a noun, and it's going to have a verb. And the only thing different about these sentences is that you can only pick one. That our world is quantized in such a way that you can only pick one. That if you want to know the noun of this sentence, you can. And if you want to know the verb of this sentence, you can. But you can't know both because both is impossible from where you're sitting, from your perspective. This is probably the biggest clue about what the curtain of reality looks like, about what Maya looks like. It's what we call simulation theory is ancient Mayan, just visionary. This is what the world is. The world is purposely illusional. The word is Fasma. The world is something that you create in order to comfortably understand itself. And you're not going to be able to tell people that there's not a commandment that says you can't lie to yourself, because they're going to get all pissed off because they think that that means the Bible's wrong somehow, and it's not. It means the Bible was right the whole time, that the Bible knew that the only way you're going to survive in this fucking world is by lying to yourself, because you have a psyche that required that you lied to yourself from the day you were born, when you started telling yourself that the other part of your brain was God. Guys, what more proof do you need that you are God than the fact that for 6,000 fucking years you thought you were listening to God and it turned out you were listening to yourself? What bigger proof do you even need there?